Hello, my name is Michael Garrett, and this is PoppinCulture. My guest today is the hilarious Tara Brown, very funny
Hi.
comedian. If she's
Hi.
in, yes, if she's in your city, please go see her. She's hilarious. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. I'm so excited to be here.
Nice, nice. Uh, we're going to discuss how the Rocky franchise has influenced pop culture. Miss Brown has chose the topic.
Yes.
But before we get into it, whenever I have comedians on, a lot of people like to focus on bombing, but I'm more
Yeah.
focused on succeeding. So when
Yes.
was the first time you killed and how did it feel?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't like to use the word killed because I just think it seems so self-serving. So, I'll say the word I did really well, was received really well by the crowd, that sort of thing. The first time, wow, I've been doing stand-up now for 7 years. So honestly, it's hard for me to remember the first time. But I will tell you, it's varying degrees of things, right? Like I did a show in Dallas, Texas at the Windspear Opera House in front of 2,000 people.
Oh wow.
That felt really good. To do well in that kind of environment felt really good. But let's be honest, it's not that hard to do well in a room with a large crowd, right? My biggest uh accomplishments or things I'm happy about is when I have a good set in a small room. I did a show once and it was a church event and it was like during the evening and the weekday and we had like 8 people and the show went really well. Those are the victories I really, am proud of because when you can get a room and I'm doing 30 minutes for 8 people and they're engaged for all 30 minutes, they're laughing throughout, that feels better to me. Listen, don't get me wrong. The thing with the 2,000 people, that was amazing. Be real clear, that was amazing. But performing well in front of a crowd of 8 people was a little bit more gratifying because it just made me know, stuff I created worked. It works in front of 2,000 people and it works in front of eight. And so that's a good feeling. So I'll go with that. Anytime I get to perform in front of small crowds and it does well, I'm happy.
Nice, nice. Do you feel like when you do small crowds, you do more crowd work?
You know what's funny? I don't love crowd work. I am not good at it. I I try to avoid it like the plague. I don't want to know whose birthday it is. I don't want to do it. So I think you do have to do a certain level of crowd work when there's a smaller room. Um, I don't love it, but I'm more high energy. So for me, it's all about kind of keeping the energy up in the room. So I try to do that. I did a show recently. Another good feeling is when you're doing a show and you see all the comedians before you, and it's a tough room. The room is really tight, and then when you can kind of go up and then crack through, best feeling ever. So crowd work, and actually a comedian in my city here in Charlotte, who I'm just the biggest fan of. His name is Jason Allen King, really good friend and just an amazing comedian. If you ever want to see someone funny, go watch Jason Allen King. But anyway, he actually said something that freed me from crowd work a while ago. I was hosting a show at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte. It was the first time I was going to be hosting. And he had come to the show and I had told him, I said, I'm really nervous because I don't do well at crowd work. He goes, well, why do you need to do it? And I was like, I guess I don't, and so I think you just think you have to do crowd work. And when he said that, it freed me. So, I'll dip in it a little bit, but I'm not a crowd work type comedian. So I don't love doing it.
Nice, good for you. When I'm not gonna say the name of the club, but when I was doing crowd work, they were just like, I mean, when I hosted, they were just like, "Look, you do crowd work. Nobody paid to see you. You do
Really?
crowd work." And I get what they were saying. They
Wow.
just like I guess it was more like nobody really wants to hear your opinions. It was more like they just want you to lower their shoulders and get them relaxed for the people they came to see. So it made me better at crowd work, making me do it. But the first time I was just like, oh, I guess I have to, they was like, you have to do it. So yeah.
That's interesting. But you know what? I will say this. I enjoy watching comedians do crowd work because here's the thing what I love about comedy. I don't care if you've been doing it for 7 years or 7 minutes. You should always be willing to learn and leave yourself open to learn from everyone. So I actually enjoy when I go to clubs and I watch or go wherever and watch comedians work the crowd because I admire it because I'm like, I don't feel like I do it well. So I always like to watch and learn. So good for you that they kind of threw you in as like, do the crowd work,
Yeah,
That's great.
I mean, they were tough too. They were just like, all right, we'll give you 3 jokes, but you're gonna do some crowd work. I was like, oh wow. It wasn't good in the beginning. I was asking some dumb questions like, is the shrimp good? Uh,
And then what do you go after? They're like, yes or no. You're like, I got nothing.
no, they would always say no. And I was like, we gotta take it off the menu. And they did. Um,
So, I was always taught too that when you do crowd work, if you're taking the crowd somewhere, you better have a way to just lead them. You know what I mean? So if I'm asking you a question, I need to anticipate your answer or just take you where I need to go. But to ask you a question and then I don't have a way to kind of get back to it is a recipe for disaster. So Jason Allen King, who I mentioned earlier, he's also very good at crowd work. I love watching him do it.
yes. Yes. I remember I did a competition when he was in the competition, and me and like the other 8 comedians were just like, all right, man, I guess we waste $10.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are good enough to know too when you can read a room and you're like, my set's not going to work here. I'm just going to do crowd work. And I've seen comedians do that and it's gone over very well.
That's
But
nice.
you have to, and that's the thing about comedy too, right? You have to have everything in your toolbox. You can't just be like, I'm only going to get up here and do my set. You have to be able to host. You have to be able to feature. Eventually, you have to be able to headline, and you have to have a little bit of everything. I, as you know, am a clean comedian, so I only work clean. I highly encourage all comedians, even if you do not work clean, have a good 10 minutes of clean in your arsenal, preferably more, because you don't know when you might be called upon. Someone said, hey, I need somebody to come work the show, but it needs to be clean. So even if that's not your primary focus, I'm a big believer that everybody should have a good amount of clean material in their
Yes,
arsenal.
you're one of my favorite clean comedians. It's
Oh, thank
you,
you.
Brandon Rainwater, and Mike Goodwin.
Oh
And
my God, Brandon Ray with Michael, even to be mentioned in the name of those two, that's just high praise. Thank you.
no,
Those
no,
gents are hilarious.
yes,
I
yes,
I always enjoy watching them perform.
yes. I'm not trying to be nosy at all, but
Yeah.
I can't go past it without asking. When you walk out on stage, and you see 2,000 people in the audience. Do you think to yourself, I could ask for more money?
No, you know what happened? How I came to perform in that place. Oh, well, I'll tell you, it's funny you should say that. How I came to perform there is that I had won the Jeannie Robertson Comedy with Class Humor competition, which was a national competition. And rest in peace to Jeannie Robertson, who passed away last month. Um, so a part of the prize, it was a cash prize, and then I also got to perform it with her at any of her shows of my choosing. So
Hmm.
I chose Dallas because I had never performed in Dallas. And I was like, this looks like a great place. But it was so funny because, and I put this video on Facebook. So she just was so first class, just showed me the best time. And there's video of when she introduced me. She took me around to the venue and showed me my dressing room for the first time. And this was funny because you know how when you're a comedian, you're like, she kept saying to me, you have a dressing room at the place. And I was like, I just changed my clothes in the hotel. Like, it's okay. She goes, no, you have a dressing room. So I have a video up on Facebook of her revealing the dressing room to me for the first time. And then at the end of the video, I said, everybody, the prices just went up. It's like I had a dressing room now. Things then got different,
Yeah,
you know. So it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. But yeah. And that's the
yes,
other thing too, to your point, it's like, when you have those type of opportunities, it definitely changes some things.
yes.
And you're
And you
like,
were
I'm
ready
sorry.
for it.
Yeah,
Most
you're like,
important.
I'm sorry, cannot do your show for chicken wings now.
I think I told the story before, but the best one I laughed about. I laughed the whole way home. This guy was like, "Man, we ain't making enough money, but I got a case of water." And I was
Oh,
like,
like, is it even sparkling? Can I get sparkling water?
"Nah, it was just that Dollar General stuff." And I just laughed the way home.
Wow. And you like this,
Uh,
give me the water. Give me the
yeah,
water.
yes.
I need something to show for this.
But I'm super proud of you, man.
Thank
You
you.
always do an amazing job, and I know you're ready, and I can't wait to see what comes next.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I'm humbled by your words. Thank you.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Uh, so we're getting to the topic. You chose how the Rocky franchise has
Yes.
influenced pop culture. Um, how I want to word this where it doesn't sound rude, and I promise it's not meant to be rude. I was not alive when the first movie came out. Uh,
Me, I was a kid. It was first movie I believe was 1977.
yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Mm.
1977. And I was born in
1977,
six.
1978. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, 77. I was born in 69. So
Okay.
I was a youngin myself.
Okay. All
But
right.
you weren't
Cool.
even born. How do you mind me asking what year were you born?
92.
Oh gosh.
So that's a.
So old. Okay.
Uh,
But go ahead, your question. You weren't born.
uh, how big was this movie when it came out? If you
Well,
remember
from
at all.
yeah, I don't remember it from being a kid. But as you know, as I'm sure you did your research, it went on to win like Academy Awards.
Yes.
Um, but I remember discovering this when I was like a young adult. Like I was probably in my late teens, early 20s, and I was just so captivated by this underdog story. Because who doesn't love like an underdog story? Is somebody like exceeding the odds and everything stacked against them, and then they're overcoming. Like we are a country, a people of rooting for the underdog and cheering and wanting someone to overcome some obstacles. So I don't know. I remember being very fascinated by this and the fact that it's just lived on. You think about this. This movie, the first one came out in 1977. What are we in 2021? What is that? 87, 97, 2000. Over 40 some odd years. And I promise you this, I've seen all of the movies, anything associated with Rocky, I've seen. I can't even tell. I've lost count of how many times. I own the whole DVD library. If I am in here on a Saturday and there's a Rocky marathon, I will watch every single one every time. Does not
Nice.
matter that I've seen them. I'm literally quoting the lines back to the television, but it's just something about it that I love so much.
Nice, nice. Just take a backtrack just a little bit. Sylvester Stallone was dead broke before this movie,
Dead broke. Yes.
like horribly broke.
Mhm.
And do you think that really shows in the first movie from the way it was filmed and the way he was acting?
My understanding of it, it did. And I remember reading a story of they didn't even have money. If I don't want to get it wrong, for like you know how in the movie they have they're bruised. They have like what do you call it? Prosthetic
Mhm.
type things where they put on your face to make it like they're bruised. They didn't even have enough money to like have a lot of that. So like they had to save that. So it's just like you couldn't like, get beat up in the movie and they're like, okay, let's put some more on them. They had to literally like save the stuff they had. My understanding is that 100% they showed, it came through that he was broke. I remember his dog that was in the movie was his real dog.
Mhm.
And my understanding is that I think he had to give the dog away or something.
He had to sell
He,
it. Yep.
he had to sell the dog. And then when the movie hit big, he went back and got the dog, which I thought was so sweet.
Yes,
Yeah.
Um, so like you said, this is definitely an underdog movie. When it came to the first one, like I said, we're going to talk about all of them, how they influenced pop culture. When it came to the first one, what I think really hit was that this movie was a character movie. Not that the plot isn't good, but
Yeah.
it's so based on characters and making sure the characters were important. Um, when it came to the guy he fights, I forgot his
Apollo
name,
Creed.
Apollo
Apollo
Creed.
Creed.
Um, so a lot of comedians make this joke. I think Richard Pryor said it best. He was like, "This is the best work of fiction ever. A white heavyweight
Yeah. Yeah.
knocking out." Uh, did you like the way they portrayed his character, Apollo Creed?
No, I didn't because he was such a character. But my understanding is that he was loosely based on Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
And so when you take it in context of that, you're like, okay, it makes sense because Muhammad Ali was so larger than life. So he was a caricature a bit, but I did, like I said, I knew from what I read that he was loosely based on Muhammad Ali. So I just took it in that context. And then also, look at it from another lens, right? This was 1977. And here you had a black man very sure of himself and
Yeah.
who I'm the best, I'm the greatest. And, I think that was actually very important for people of color to be able to see because, coming out of the 60s and whatever, and say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. So here you had a character who was very unashamed and unabashed in his like pride of who he was and his ability. So, on the one hand, you can see like, oh, this is a character, but on the other hand, you're like, yes, black man, you be you. I'm here for it.
Definitely, definitely.
Mhm.
Um, Adrian,
My heart, love Adrian.
yes. Uh, Rewatching the first movie and then watching the whole series, Adrian just came off very shy, and then she took her glasses off and became a whole nother person.
Let me tell you, okay, how much time we got about Adrian. Okay, here's the thing for me. One of the other, there's so many things I love about this franchise. And one of it is the love story. A big part of it is the love story. Because here are two people who no one saw anything in, right? She was this shy bookworm and no one paid her any attention. He was this person who, people thought was dumb and didn't think very highly of him, but they saw something in each other. And I love that because it doesn't, the outside world could think another thing, but there's always going to be somebody who sees something in you, not even from a romantic standpoint, right? But someone who could believe in you and just think that you can do amazing things. And when you have that sort of love and support from people, it can just take you so far. One of my favorite lines, and I believe it's from one, is when Paulie says to Rocky, "I don't get it. What do you see in her?" And this is his sister, by the way. He was so horrible to her, but he had a drinking problem, so we'll give him that. But he goes, "I don't get it. What do you see in her?" And Rocky goes, we fill gaps. And he goes, "What are you talking about? We fill gaps." He goes, "I got holes, she got holes, and together we fill gaps." And so I love that, but those two, and I don't know if you want to do this chronologically, but this is why, and I'll tell you why 3 is my favorite, is because that's when you start to see more of her personality. She comes out, the glasses are off, she is like the money gun came through, so they are looking good. And she gets in his face, and I love that. So I love that story.
Yes, yes. And we're gonna. This goes for all the movies, but
Yeah.
we'll break it down. The first one, the first fighting montage,
Yeah.
which honestly, this it's hard. I haven't seen it done this well. Anything new, I still haven't seen it done this well. This fighting montage with the music and everything, it's just amazing.
It's
Like
so good.
it's an amazing fighting montage. Like I don't think
Yeah.
it could be. A lot of people try to copy it, even with the Creed movies, but just seeing the first one ever done is just. I don't think they knew what they had, or maybe he did know, but it's just well done, and that music is just amazing.
And I think what it helped, it made them raise the bar for each movie. I think for every movie after it, the montages have just gotten better and better. Like, it was in 2, it's just like when another thing was so great. In 2 was when Adrian, she had the baby and then she got sick and then he wouldn't leave her side. And then she finally woke up and then she tells him, "I want you to do me a favor. Go win." And then you hear that music, "Duh," and it just kind of comes through. And Mickey goes, "What are we waiting for?" And then it just goes out and then that montage, and it just you chills. I get chills as I'm saying it to you, remembering it. And then with 3, and then it just goes. I think 3 was "There's no easy way." No, was that "Easy Way Out"?
Hmm.
No, I
I
think
believe so.
3 was "Eye of the Tiger."
Yeah.
The montage was
Yes.
"Eye of the Tiger," and then 4 was "There's No Easy Way Out." So that's what I'm telling you. It just builds and builds, and it gets better. And you almost wait for the montage scene in these movies.
Yes. Yes. And what I thought was like very cleverly done, because of course they had a bigger budget for 2 than the first one.
Yes,
They could afford extras. So in the first montage, when he's running up steps, it's just him. And the
that's
second
right.
montage is him and like 100 extras. And you
That's
just
exactly
see
right.
the influence that, not only, could they have a bigger budget, but like it shows what influence they had on the movie. That was like, all right, anybody can be Rocky Balboa.
That's
You know?
right. That's exactly right. You nailed it. Nailed it.
Yes.
My ringtone is actually "Gonna Fly" now from the theme of Rocky. Like dun,
Nice.
dun, 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 dun. That's my thing. It's so funny when it goes off in meetings. I'm like, oh, sorry.
Nice. Nice. One side question I wanted to ask. Rocky's a 30-year-old boxer. He has like 7 or 8 years of experience. Um, how many people do you think this influenced? How many 30-year-olds do you think this influenced the box?
That's a really good question. I would wonder if, I'm from New York, originally from New York, and we had something in New York called Golden Gloves. I don't think they had that too many other places. And it was just a really great local boxing competition. And it's funny because I felt like around the time of the Rocky movies, Golden Gloves just got big. Like we would have a lot of, local kids in the neighborhood trying to box. The other thing too, I think, look at it from Chris Rock had a great joke about boxing. It's so funny. He said, black boxers are great. He said Puerto Ricans are better. I don't know if he said Puerto Ricans are Hispanic. He said the lower you are on the economic scale, the better you are in boxing. And it was just such a great, funny joke. It's like probably not so appropriate right now, but I don't know. I can't speak to numbers of how many people got influenced by it, but I know for me, watching in New York and seeing how big Golden Gloves, is it Golden Gloves? Chris Corrado could tell me. He's from New York and he's a boxer, but pretty sure it was Golden Gloves. But yeah, I saw it in my hood. A lot of people got interested in boxing.
Nice,
I can't say if it was because of the Rocky movies, but yeah, I saw a lot more.
nice.
We
I
had a
was just
lot of good boxers from Brooklyn. Mark Breland was a really good boxer from Brooklyn, and so yeah.
nice. I was just thinking this movie has influenced a lot of black guys. Um,
Yeah, exactly. It's not a black eye. Or a lot of people thinking they were tougher than they were, and you're like, calm down.
yes,
You don't
yes.
want this smoke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To see the first movie, and of course, Apollo does win, but very slimmingly. It was seen as something that it could have went either way. It's kind of
Yeah.
that kind of way it was portrayed. Um, Also, I know you're a big fan of the series. Like in reality, like when it comes to the the fight scenes itself, the boxing scenes, do you enjoy those?
I do. Actually do. You know what I don't like in a weird kind of way? I don't like to see women boxing. I don't mind men. I don't love watching a ton of boxing. I actually like it in I think I like the movies because I know they're not really getting hit. But although Michael B. Jordan talked about in the Creed movies, he said, Rocky told him you got to take at least one.
Yeah, you
So
saw
he
the
took a
video.
heart. Yeah, is so he said he took one. But I don't like women boxing. I don't think women should be hit in any capacity. So to watch women boxing is disturbing to me, and I don't like that. But I don't mind the boxing. But I will tell you this: you talk about one and Apollo winning by a slim margin. You think about that in life, right? Like sometimes you're never satisfied. And then also he let people get in his head, like you didn't really win, and, and then his ego got the better of him. And he's like, hey, let's do this again.
For no reason. Like
Yeah,
this
just
guy's already
ego.
rich. Like yeah,
But look at our egos. Look at how our egos will get us into trouble.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And in the second movie, they fight again, and he Rocky wins. And in my opinion, I don't really think they were setting up for another movie. I couldn't do any research, but after watching the second movie, I don't really think they were trying to make another one. Do you know
You
if they
might
were
be
actually?
right on that. You might be
Uh,
right on that because one of the things that I loved about the end of the fight scene in the second movie is when Apollo kind of grabs he, after they announce Rocky's winning, he grabs him by the head and just kind of almost to say like, and raises his arm up in victory. It's like, I respect you, and I think that was great. So you might be right about that. He might not have planned the second one. And then there was like, wait, it did what at the box office?
yeah, yeah,
Rocky 3, please.
yeah, yeah. Because yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody was like, "Buddy, you can either do another Rambo or you can come back with us." Um,
Rocky all day. I did not. Rambo was so weird to me.
I agree.
Mhm.
We'll review the third one later. But to get to the fourth one, do you remember like going to see the fourth one in theaters by chance?
Um, Jeez Louise. Probably I don't remember. I know I've seen them all in theaters, but I don't remember. But I will tell you this: what I remember, two things stood out for me in that the fourth one. Obviously, well, a few things. Apollo dying. I was like, oh, not my Apollo. And then when again, Adrian, this was the same theme carrying in from 3 into 4 when she was in his face and she spoke truth and she said, you can't win. Adrian, you can't tell him that. You win not Russian needs to believe he can win. And he even turned around and looked like, oh, I can't believe you said that. And then speaking of montages, that montage in 4 was probably my favorite one. Even though 3 is my favorite movie, I think the montage in 4 was probably my favorite. And the so much so the music they play during that montage is called war slash fanfare. And that when it builds to that crescendo, it's like dun, 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 dun. It's so slow and then it builds goose bumps. So good. So good.
If you were to rank opponents, where would you put the fourth one?
The fourth one, Drago was like a beast. So he to me was probably Rocky's toughest opponent. And clearly because he gave the poor man brain damage after that fight. So I feel like I would put Ivan Drago up there and then probably Clubber Lang, aka Mr. T, as the second. I think Apollo was charismatic, and I think Apollo was a beautiful boxer. Like, you know, when they say boxing is this the sweet science, you know, he was very graceful, and I feel like the way he choreographed fights. There's a great video online going behind the scenes showing how they choreographed the fight scenes in Rocky. I think it was 2. It's really fascinating to watch. But I felt like Apollo, he was a good boxer, he was graceful, but I felt like Ivan Drago was a beast. As his manager said, he said quite simply, whatever he hits, he destroys. And I was like, he's right. Yeah.
Yes. And what I like really about the fourth movie was it was really it didn't lean too heavy on sci-fi, but it definitely had that realistic vibe. Like, no, there's new ways to train, and we're gonna show you how we train. Like we can use technology to help this athlete.
Right. But dude was on steroids too.
Oh yeah, of course,
Yeah,
course, yeah.
exactly. They were training, they were training more, using advances in technology, but dude was also juicing.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna go any farther with that.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Because some people don't make the Olympics. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Like do it naturally. Yeah.
yes, yes. So the fifth movie, you seem like you have
Ooh,
hard feelings about it, so I'll let you
we
take it
don't
away.
talk about the fifth movie.
Okay,
No
all
one
right.
talks about Rocky Five. It was so bad. Now you talk about to me, it just felt like that was a hard one for me because it felt like a money grab because I was like, there's no reason for this. They went too far. And if I'm not mistaken, Rocky Five starts 10 years after Rocky Four ended.
Yeah,
And it's interesting if you watch it, because again, I can probably safely say to you, I've seen these movies hundreds of times, and that would not be an exaggeration. It's interesting because the opening scene of 5 opens after Rocky, after his fight with Avon Drago, and he's in the shower and his hands are shaking, he's trembling. And it's interesting to see Adrian because she looks 10 years older. It's a really interesting, and I don't say that in a derogatory way, but you can tell the movie is definitely set 10 years later, and you can just see something. She has the same outfit on, but her face, if you look at the end of 4 and the beginning of 5, very different.
yes.
Yeah.
And then we get to 6, Rocky Balboa. That's
Rocky
the title.
Balboa.
Uh, can't lie, that's the best acting Sylvester Stallone has ever done. That was just great acting, in my opinion. Like he
You
nailed it.
like? Yeah.
Like,
I will tell you this about Rocky Balboa. I remember when they were advertising it was coming out, I was very excited because again, anything Rocky, I am here for. And I remember saying every time they would show like a trailer or something, I kept saying, and I said out loud a few times, "Where's Adrian?" I never saw Adrian in any of the trailers. I kid you not, Michael. I went to the movie. I went to see it by myself, and it opens with him at her gravesite, and I yelled out loud in the movie, "Adrian's dead!" Like I was heartbroken, heartbroken, and I had to really process my emotions about Adrian being dead. So that was a tough one for me because I read a quote where Sylvester Stallone said one of the hardest things he had to do was tell Talia Shire, the actress who plays Adrian, that she wasn't going to be in the next movie. And I was like, yeah, because it broke my heart, Mr. Stallone. I missed
yeah.
Adrian. But it was, I mean, and kudos to him for making that hard decision because where can you go? Now we've seen 5 versions of this movie, right? You're going into the 6th one. where can you really go? So you have to pull on some sort of emotional heartstring. So I thought it was good storytelling. He had,
Yes.
that needed to happen. And then I love when he said, "Why did she die? Woman's cancer, woman's cancer." He never said what it was just woman's cancer, which to me, again, was very realistic because, so I'm sure that was a hard decision for him to make, but I think it was smart on his part because we needed some sort of emotional pull.
Yes. And you say this all the Rocky movies inspire. All of them definitely do. But this one I really felt like really pushed that by dialogue wise in this movie. Like I think this movie is the most I mean, all of them have great and heavy dialogue, but well, I ain't gonna say great, but all of them have like good,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
deep,
that's a
good,
stretch.
good, yeah, good dialogue. But this one, I really thought like he was really, really having a message with his dialogue, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think too, at this point, he probably needed to lean on that more, right? Like in the other movies, it was more about the boxing. Rocky Balboa wasn't so much about the boxing. And what I also appreciated about that movie, they talked about your aging. Like there's that great scene when he's gonna fight the guy, in the simulated type of thing. And Duke, who played his manager, who was Apollo's manager back then, he goes, so they start listing all the ailments he has. Okay, look, you're old, your knees are bad. And I love that. That was so real because it's just like, let's face facts. We're not thinking that this guy's going to get in the ring, be his however old he was self, and beat Antonio Tarver. That was
Yeah.
not happening. We know better. So I love that they were realistic about it.
Yes. Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
they definitely made it clear.
Yeah.
I think we spoke about it earlier, but that's the speech he had with his son. Like people have quoted it.
Yeah.
It's all over, for a while it was all over YouTube. Um, when Sylvester Stallone gives a speech, not even just in Rocky movies, but in general, every time you hear Sylvester Stallone give a speech, do you think it's kind of like that Morgan Freeman type vibe where it's like his voice makes you listen?
I don't think so. I honestly, to me, it doesn't. I feel like he has more good lines than a full-on speech. Like I'll listen to I like lines out of Rocky movies more so than I'm like, that was a powerful moment. You know what I mean? Like, yo, Adrian, I did it. Those are the things that I love these movies for. And again, like I told you the line earlier, we fill gaps. I got holes, she got holes, together we fill gaps. For me, it's about the lines more so than this big sweeping speech. For me, I don't, that's more Denzel. That's a Denzel thing,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
like, in Crimson Tide, when Denzel's in the car and he get ready to go on the boat and he tells his wife, I don't know what to say. I'll just see you in my dreams. I'm like, Denzel, you know what I mean? Like that's it. And Denzel will have more of those type of moments. But I don't think I look to Sylvester Stallone to give me like the big rah-rah speech. I need him to give me moments. He gives me moments.
Oh, I agree. Every time I watch
Mhm.
John Q, I be crying like mother. I be
Oh my
crying real bad.
gosh.
I be crying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So uh what do you think? Because this was a tough competition right now. You had still had like Bruce Lee films at this time. You had
That's a good point. Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone films at this time. What do you think kept the Rocky movies keep going up in popularity?
I'm telling you, we like to root for the underdog. We want to see people win. I don't care who you are. You think about this. I was thinking about this as we reached I don't want to say that. You think about something like 9/11, right? And I don't care where you stood on the political landscape. Like if you were for this president, you weren't for this president. At the time, it was about America overcoming, America being back on top. And we all root for that. I don't care who you are. We want to see people win. So when you have a story is about somebody overcoming the odds and the underdog winning, that will resonate with everybody. And I think that's why this thing is so timeless. I think that's why you can show it to your kids. Again, these movies are over 40 plus years old. And I guarantee you, if someone who was around in 1977 shows it to their grandkids, it will still be as relevant and as timely because it's about overcoming. And we all like to see people overcome hard things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Um, so I'm not going to dip into the Creed movies much, but
Why? Just good too.
okay.
Well, I will
Uh,
tell you this about Creed. Can I say this one thing about it?
you can say
I
anything.
was I was very skeptical when they said I was very skeptical because I'm like, I am a Rocky aficionado. And it's like, if they don't do this right, I will be vocal and I will say the things.
Yeah.
And so I went to the movie and I was kind of like this. Let me see what this is. I got her, and it was so funny because a coworker of mine, because she knows how much I love Rocky, and she's very super sweet and southern. She goes, Tara Brown, I want to go see that with you. And I said, okay. So she and I went to the movies in the middle of the day, and I literally sat there with my arms folded for a few minutes. I was like, let me see. And I gotta say, I was very pleasantly surprised. I was very happy. I said Michael B. Jordan did the franchise proud. I was very afraid that Rocky was gonna die because I was like, I thought it was gonna be, this is a way to hand this off, and they were gonna kill Rocky. So I was really, really scared about that. But then to find out what he had cancer. And so I was like, I can live with that as long as you keep him around for a few movies. I do think eventually they're probably gonna kill him off, and I'm bracing myself for that. I may need a therapy session when they kill Rocky off because I will never be ready for that. But to me, similar to like I said with Adrian, there was only so far you can go with the character before you needed to do that. I feel like Michael B. Jordan has done this franchise so proud and so well, and you could tell that he takes this so seriously that I feel like Sylvester Stallone could probably feel like this is in good hands. Plus, he would still be cashing checks, so I'm guessing he would be okay with it. And
Uh,
and kudos actually this, and I think this needs to be said a lot. Kudos to Sylvester Stallone because they put this very iconic franchise in the hands of a Black director, Ryan
yes,
Coogler, who
yes,
knocked it out of the park.
yes.
Okay. So kudos to him in trusting the franchise to the brilliant Ryan Coogler, to the brilliant Michael B. Jordan. And they said, yes, we will take it and we will do the thing. And they did it. And I was very proud. I walked out of that movie very proud and very happy that Rocky was not dead.
Yes, same here. The whole time I'm watching the movie, I was just thinking like, oh man, this is the same guy that directed Fruitville Station. Like this is
Yes. Powerful
like
movie. Mhm.
yes, but I was like he nailed it. Now I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna ask you now. I know you like the first six more, but can we both agree the fight scenes just way better now?
Much better now.
Yes.
Much better now. And even with the Creed stuff, if as I call Creed 1 and 2, Rocky 7 and 8, those scenes to me, like, and again, as this is an extension of the franchise, you can just even see those fight scenes so good and the choreography of it. And like I said, Michael B. Jordan said in the movies, the the rite of passage is you got to take a hard one, and he took one.
Yeah.
And so, but just brilliant, really good fight scenes, very good.
It's I love the way he uses the cameras for the fight scene. So it's
Yeah,
like you're really there and it just feels like you feel every punch, you feel every dodge. You be in the movie theater dodging yourself. And
exactly.
it's just
Which to
really,
your,
really done.
to your point, cameramen should get more credit than they do for these movies because there's an art to, like, choreographing these scenes and filming them in such a way that makes you feel like you did get hit, or you move back a little bit. So you're right. Kudos to the cameramen on these Rocky movies.
Yes. Um I'm not from Philadelphia. I've never I think we drove through, but I've never actually been like to visit Philadelphia. Have you been there by chance?
I have. It's a great city. It's a tough city. Philadelphians they're very honest people. Their sports fans are notoriously tough on their team. Somebody said they boo Santa Claus. Said I think they were at the Phillies. It was a veteran stadium, I guess, where the Phillies played or whatever. And they said the crowd booed Santa Claus. It's a beautiful city. It's a hardworking people. Like what I love about a city like Philadelphia, because again, I'm from New York, and so I appreciate cities where people hustle and grind, and it's just like they are very direct and tell you like it is. And so I think it's a great city, and I love that this character is from that city. Very like pull yourself up by the bootstraps type of thing, and it's a great city. Shout out to
Uh,
Philadelphia, and they make really good cheesesteaks out there. If you heard.
yes. Uh, just when I can't, we can't go back in time, but through this franchise, do you think they have done a good job portraying the city in the films?
I think, yeah, I think you think about place any movie franchise that does really. I would be curious to know, you know, if tourism went up, in the city of Philadelphia. You think about it's so funny, The Wire. I don't know if you ever saw The Wire.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking to myself, Lord, if anybody goes to Baltimore after seeing The Wire, because I was thinking to myself, I would be pissed if I was in Baltimore because the way they showed it and whatever. But people fell in love with the city after that. And I think same thing with Philadelphia. You feel a sense of pride, right? When you have someone, fictional or not, who's repping your city and proudly, I don't care who you are just like, they are my people. And so yeah, I would think that they did Philly well.
Nice. Since you live in Charlotte, just side note question. Since you live in Charlotte, were you like mad about Stowe on the Bluff, or have you seen the
About
movie
who?
Stowe on the Bluff? It's I
I don't
believe
even know
it's
what that is.
oh okay.
What
Do
is
you
that?
it's kind of like what's the best way to what's the term do they use for Stowe on the Bluff? Do you know have you heard of the Bluff? I know it's in North
I've never
Carolina.
heard of any of this. You have
Okay,
to
it's
educate me.
okay, it's like a fake but real action movie. Like everything's like what movie do I compare those to? Kind of like the horror movies where everything's like shaky camera, like people are
Oh,
using
okay. Like
camcorders to
kind of a
record it.
guerrilla style. They shooting like a guerrilla style. Okay.
But it's
So they're doing a movie like that here in Charlotte?
wherever the Bluff is. I know the Bluff's in North Carolina. I was told it's not far from Charlotte, but it's
Oh,
just a
okay.
very horrible neighborhood, and it just tells the story of like a drug dealer. But it
Oh,
makes
I've not heard
it
this.
makes the Bluff look very horrible.
Oh, I've not heard it. So probably
Okay.
I'm probably
Okay.
better for not having heard it. But
Okay. Cool.
oh, that sucks a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're not missing nothing.
No, okay. Good.
And then we get to Creed 2. Drago's son, even Drago makes appearance in this movie. Also, side note, Drago's son, Marion Florin, I can't, I'm butchering his
Yeah.
name. He's in the Shang-Chi movie also. He plays Razor Fist. Uh,
Oh,
before he,
really? Okay.
mhm. Before he became an actor, he was a heavyweight boxer. He had
That kid was
over
huge.
mhm,
He's a big boy.
Yep, he had over 98 amateur fights, and I couldn't find how many pro fights he had, but he won about 87 of his amateur fights. Guy had like he had a future, but he
Yeah.
chose acting, which I'm sure he's happy about.
Yeah.
But um,
That's a
yeah,
good looking kid. I was like, golly, that boy is big. He's a big
yeah,
dude.
yes,
But he also was really it was good. And look at the underlying thing with that story, right? With his dad, and you cut through the emotional pull of that, and you find that the mother had left them and all that stuff. So yeah, that was good. It was good to see Dolph Lundgren, who played
yes,
Ivan Drago, come back. That was really good. And even Mr. T.
yeah,
Well, Mr. T is coming back, I think, in the next one.
yeah. I thought so
I,
too. Yeah, next. Yeah, I
yeah, I
ain't seen the
saw.
second one.
No, not the second one. I saw a trailer last year sometime. They were teasing. It was like a teaser trailer.
Okay,
And I think and then I thought to myself, okay, are we gonna keep doing this? You saw Mr. T, and I'm thinking, he gonna fight Mr. T's son now? Like, come on, y'all. Like, that's a bit much. So
yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll see. But Mr. T looked good.
yeah. Um, the relationship between Creed and his girlfriend, well, wife in the film, do you think that's portrayed well with her going deaf and everything?
Well, I don't know. She didn't. Oh, you mean the son, Adonis Creed. Okay, I'm thinking you meant
Adonis.
Apollo. Adonis, yeah. I thought that was a very powerful moment with her. Let's go. We're talking two now, right?
Okay, but
We
you
can
can
go,
bounce
okay.
around.
Here's the thing that I thought was so incredibly powerful when they realized the baby was hearing impaired. And he couldn't control it. And the tears that he cried, and I felt that pain. It felt so very visceral because it's just like I wish that I could make my baby hear, and I can't. I also really love, kind of going back to his then girlfriend, now wife. I love how she owned, like, yeah, I'm hearing a pair. Here's my hearing aid. What? You know what I mean? She was, again, I love when we can look at something that someone may think is a disability and say, "This is my reality. I'm okay with it. You need to be okay with it. And if you're not, then I'll see you later." I love Tessa Thompson, right? Tessa
Yes,
Thompson.
Tesla Thompson.
She's so good. She's so beautiful, and I love her. I love their relationship in the movie. And
Yes.
funny, the best one to me in the first Creed is when he kept referring. She realizes who Rocky Balboa, like he has this relationship with Rocky Balboa, and he goes, "You didn't tell me your uncle was white." And then Rocky goes, "Yeah, for a while now." It's like, "I've been white for a long time now." It was great. So again, little lines and little moments in the movies I just love.
Yes, yes. Um, Also another scene from the second movie I enjoyed when he proposed and she didn't hear any of it. I thought that was really cute.
So cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Um,
cute. They're a cute couple. I love it.
nice, nice. Is there anything else before we get to the movie review that you would like to talk about how the Rocky franchise has influenced pop culture?
I just think, influence it. And again, I go back to, I love that it has stood the test of time for 40 plus years. I think that it's inspiring to anybody. You can apply it to, it's funny, I'm now watching Ted Lasso on Apple TV, which I love. And one of the characters always says, "Football is life." And I'm like, Rocky is life. It's just like, we can all relate to, lots of themes in this movie. And I just love it. And I that music amps me up. I feel good. I feel good after watching a Rocky movie. And I just think we can all be inspired to just, overcome. It reminds ourselves that we can overcome hard things. So it's a
Nice,
fictional story, but I think it has some really great messages that we can all take and apply to our daily lives.
nice. I
Mhm.
completely agree. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, and thank you
Yeah.
guys for watching and listening. And have an amazing day.